Welcome back to the show, everybody. Take a look at these numbers while we run the headlines here. Next SEC versus Ripple filing coming up this month you need to know about. We're going to go over it. How about the crypto black swan event of 2022, possibly 2023? You're going to absolutely want to know about that. And I think it kicks the doorway open for XRP, not only to make its way to a global reserve currency, but there's a stop it has to make along the way, and it's as a payment currency. How about a $2.5 trillion daily flow for ODL? How about a $626 XRP? Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow us on TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook for exclusive content right here. It's August 12th, 2022. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Bitcoin right now, 20,900 plus. Ethereum, 1,800. Just $2, $1.50. Underneath $1,900. Ethereum is screaming with a 13.97% increase on the 7-day. Now, you know that a lot of that is coming from, obviously, coming up to what is going to be the merge on September 15th through the 16th, according to the hash rate and everything that they've discussed, where they're supposed to switch Ethereum from proof of work to proof of stake. I hope it goes well, but we don't know until it happens. But you can see people are absolutely buying the rumor and maybe selling the merge. We don't know. That's not financial advice. XRP is 37 cents right now. We'll keep an eye on it. But take a look at this, ladies and gentlemen. It's Glint Pay. I've told you about it. You know what I mean? I love working with Glint. They're amazing, but I'll tell you what, I love being a customer even more, because what they're doing isn't just about gold. They're building a new gold financial system. It is the alternative to the banking system. Make no mistake about it, ladies and gentlemen. And for the first time in the world, you can spend gold like money. You can spend God's money anywhere now. And this is really amazing. By the way, it's physically allocated gold to you, and if you get enough of it in your account, you can have it actually delivered to your doorstep. But I tell you what I love is I love being able to take my Glint card and go purchase lunch, go purchase groceries, go buy something and hedge the inflation that is happening right now. Don't mess around. Check the link out underneath the video. Take a look at this, ladies and gentlemen. This is new from Crypto Law and John Deaton. And oh my goodness, let me stop talking and you just watch this. This is brand new. Take a listen. Did William Hinman commit a crime?
When William Hinman was named Director of Corporation Finance at the SEC, he fought to keep getting millions of dollars in payments from his old law firm, Simpson Thacher. But Hinman was warned by the ethics office it would be a crime to do anything that would affect Simpson Thacher. No meetings, no phone calls, or he'd be breaking criminal law. But Hinman ignored the legal warnings. He met with Simpson Thacher again and again. He met repeatedly with head of its DC office before and after he delivered a market-moving speech declaring the digital assets Bitcoin and Ether as not securities. When Simpson Thacher joined the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, a group with the sole mission to promote Ethereum. Then Hinman connected with Chris Lin, a partner in the Simpson Thacher's China office, who had IPO business before Hinman's division for a Chinese client that makes and sells Bitcoin and Ether mining equipment. Lin asked to meet with Hinman to, quote, report what is going on in China. Hinman said yes. Did Hinman commit a crime? It's time for an investigation. Only Congress has oversight on the SEC. Demand your lawmakers support an investigation. Connect to Congress today.
I tell you, it is so disturbing, and honestly, it doesn't make me mad anymore. It's 10 degrees above mad. It makes me incensed that not one congressperson is calling for an investigation of this man and this agency and what has gone on. I'm asking all of you to focus that energy in a professional, collegiate manner and reach out to your congressman, as I am doing and will continue to do, to get attention to this matter. So hopefully We the people, XRP holders to the tune of 70,000 plus, can help bring accountability and integrity back to the SEC. Let's turn now and look here from Jim Filan. Shout out to you, Jim. And let's focus on what is coming up here. We know when it comes to motions to exclude expert testimony, they were filed on August 9th. But we know ahead of us now, replies to that opposition of expert testimony must be filed by August 30th. So we're inside of about 2-week period here to pay attention to. And when it comes to deliberative process privilege and attorney-client privilege and the battle over the Hinman documents, we know that August 16th is an important date. Judge Torres is allowing the SEC to file a reply brief, which is due no later than August 16th. We will keep you up to date, but those are the things to think about as we move forward through this. Right here, let's talk about this from Ryan Sean Adams here. It says, they arrested the developer of Tornado Cash. As John Deaton says, read this tweet out loud. We live in perilous effing times and freedom is truly in jeopardy. I repeat, a man was arrested for writing code that served as a public good for people to maintain their privacy online. They put a man in jail because bad people used his open source code. This cannot stand in any free society. This is a real moment, ladies and gentlemen, and I said this the other day when it comes to the U.S. Treasury. Trust me when I tell you, the libertarian in me sees that this is a perilous time. There is no question. But I guarantee you, as DAI says, dimes to donuts, I guarantee you that the government, the U.S. government and other governments are going to require, if you want to build a public good, it better not be too private. Isn't that what we're learning here? Is there any such thing as privacy left as we move to this new digital age? As an exciting of a time as this is one of the sacrifices we must fight for. This is a hill worth dying on, ladies and gentlemen. I talked about this in my morning video, but stay with me here because I'm telling you the USD tether is an issue. I called for the watch out for the rug collapse. I think it will create a dip in this market that will be a buying opportunity of a lifetime. Now, I could be wrong. It's not financial advice, but if it happens, I am going to personally take advantage of it. But we know now, breaking just late last night, Tether and crypto exchange Bitfinex expected to face a massive new criminal investigation in the United States. Now, I tell you, when you think of this for a moment, think of this. Think of the idea that if you're in a token that only gets you in and out by USD Tether, how are you getting out? How are you getting out? You're stuck. Now, this impresses upon me that means we could have a huge, huge collapse if they really shut down USD Tether. Now, I know that there's USD coin, and I have said many, many times, I believe USD coin is the unofficial, official retail US digital dollar for the United States of America. It's just missing the crown. But this may be the black swan event for crypto of 2022. And if it is, you have to know that Congress will have to act. As Cynthia Loomis said, these bills have less than 50% chance of passing in Congress minus a black swan event. And what do we know is the biggest bill that's in front of Congress? Stablecoin bill. And wouldn't it be a black swan moment like this that would strand retail investors, that would require Congress to act in the 11th hour in order to get it done? Head on a swivel, ladies and gentlemen. Japan-based Shenshi Bank launches Ripple, and we know this because they are doing a rewards program with XRP. We covered this yesterday, and that is a lot of good news going around over in Japan. We know SBI, over 63 banks connected together with Ripple and XRP. It covers more than 40% of the financial system in Japan. I covered yesterday, Japan's government just resigned as a whole a month earlier than they intended to. The new prime minister is going to usher in what he calls the new capitalism plan. You have to wonder if it's all digital, and just how deeply Ripple and XRP may be in that plan. Speaking of plans, sitting at where Bretton Woods was done, Mount Washington, I believe it was, at where Bretton Woods location originally came up with the idea to switch from the pound to the US dollar as the global reserve currency. This is Daniela DiMartino Booth and none other than Jim Rickards. And you're going to hear them talk here about how if you're going to be a global reserve currency as a digital currency, you first going to have to see you be successful as a payment currency. Come on in.
It's important to distinguish between a payment currency and a reserve currency. Okay. The dollar dominates both realms, but it's much easier to replace the dollar as a payment currency. If you have enough parties that agree, you can use baseball cards or bottle caps if you want to.
Which is what Russia's doing right now. That's a payment currency in that scenario.
Correct.
Yeah.
That is already going on. Those talks are fairly advanced. There's, the BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, but it's now morphed into the BRICS Plus. They've invited Iran, Turkey, Argentina, Brazil, and other countries to join that group. There's something called the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, led by China and Russia with some Central Asian states. And there's a third group called the Eurasian Economic Union. It was sort of Russia's answer to the EU, but that involves, Belarus, some Eastern European countries, Russia, and some Central Asian republics. So those three organizations, all multilateral, and you say, they're just emerging economies, who cares? No, we're talking about half the population of the planet, more than half of the global GDP, and major oil exporters and natural resource producers, strategic metals, agriculture. This is a big deal. They are already working on these channels. They're actually doing exactly what John Maynard Keynes wanted to do here at Bretton Woods in 1944. They're talking about nobody wants the ruble as a payment currency or the Chinese yuan. That's not going to happen. Right. But they could invent a totally new currency. Call it whatever you want. I mean, John Maynard Keynes did. He called it the Bancor. Backed by, at first he said a commodity basket, so much oil, so much wheat, so much gold, etc. And then he said, but oil's not really fungible. There's 70 kinds of oil based on viscosity and sulfur and all that, and wheat, it spoils and whatever. So let's just go to gold to simplify it. So a lot of times you end up with gold, not because it's shiny and pretty, but because it actually works. Mm-hmm. We're going down that path. In the meantime, China's talking to Saudi Arabia about selling or buying oil for Chinese yuan. Russia's talking to India about they don't want Indian rupees. I mean, how much curry do you want to buy? But they're talking about accepting the UAE dinar, which is coming along. Dubai is a major financial center, transshipment center, and if you have dinar, you can use them for something. And India's got a lot of dinar because there's so many Indians in the UAE who are sending remittances and then other transactions going on. So this is all happening. So then the question, where does it go from here? I was in a meeting once at the Pentagon, and I was 2 seats away from a guy named David Dollar, who was the Assistant Secretary of the Treasury at the time, but he was in charge of federal finance. Interesting last name.
I was going to say that.
Perfect.
David Dollar, he's a real guy, he's out there. And I told him, exactly what I just told you and told our audience. I mean, I've been saying this for a while. And he slams both hands on the table like that, and he goes, the dollar has been the global reserve currency, the dollar is the global reserve currency today, and the dollar will always be the global reserve currency.
Listen to what he says now.
I said, David, I feel like I'm in Whitehall in 1913 listening to John Bull tell me about how sterling will rule the world forever. Right. And the answer is these things do come and go, right. But I think we're pretty far down that path. So as a payment currency, I think we're going to see a lot of substitutes very quickly. As a reserve currency, it will take longer, because you don't pile up $100 bills in the basement. You need an asset, and that's right. Treasury bills and notes. We haven't found a good substitute asset. Rule of law is a big factor, but we're moving that way.
And we are moving that way. And when you come to that, I think of what David Schwartz talked about back in 2019 at Ripple Swell. When he said, if you were to back a stable coin with multiple assets, albeit commodities, cash, treasuries, things of that nature, good assets, as wide as you could make that basket and as deep as you could make that basket, it would be almost impossible to collapse that stable coin unless you essentially had the world end. Now, that may sound drastic and very dramatic, but think of it for a moment. If it's just gold, you could have people go after gold and you could have the situation really resurface again what happened before, where the spending and the printing gets ahead of gold and the backing, and you're right back in the same situation again. If not, you go to gold, oil, you go to diamonds, copper, silver, you go to U.S. Treasury bonds and bonds from other countries with solid up economies and cash reserves, 1-to-1 that cannot be touched and fractionalized. Then that stable coin, that payment currency, would become extremely difficult to collapse and sabotage. Now listen to this quick clip too.
But it's the real size, the real hidden agenda.
And that's why every single time Jay Powell is prompted and
Right.
But you can implement it with a digital currency. This is the hidden agenda.
You can implement this payment currency situation with a digital currency. Listen to what he's saying here.
But they got to do two things. One, roll out the CBDC, which they're doing, and get rid of cash. Those two things will go hand in hand. But we will end up worse than Communist China. Communist China, if you're on the bad list, you can't, it's a social credit score.
Yeah.
You can't buy a plane ticket. You can't buy a train ticket. You can't pay for your kid to go to a good school because you're on the blacklist
list,
because
yeah.
you did something on social media that said Xi Jinping looks like Winnie the Pooh, which he does. But that's
We're recording this.
But that's I say this on Twitter, so that's okay. But that's what we're getting to. That's the dark side of central bank digital currencies. But it's the real side, it's the real hidden agenda.
And that's why every single time Jay Powell is prompted in front of Congress, the Republican Jay Powell says, "We'll get back to you.
Yeah.
We're studying that. We're taking commentary."
Right.
But you can't.
And there you have it. And speaking of Jay Powell, we're going to bring him up here in just 1 second. Take a listen to what Jay Powell's got to say about all of this.
Rapid changes are taking place in the global monetary system that may affect the international role of the dollar in the future. Most major economies already have or are in the process of developing instant 24/7 payments. Our own FedNow service will be coming online in 2023. And in light of the tremendous growth in crypto assets and stablecoins, we are examining whether a U.S. central bank digital currency would improve upon what is an already safe and efficient domestic payment system. As our white paper on this topic notes, a U.S. CBDC could also potentially help maintain the dollar's international standing.
So at the end of the day, Jerome Powell's telling you there's going to be rapid changes to the international role of the U.S. dollar as a global reserve currency. But first, I think we have a chance to see the acceleration of XRP proving itself at another level of usage, which is at a payment currency level, which it is currently showing that it can do now in small value payments for remittance companies through different corridors. You know, we're going to talk about the ramping up of on-demand liquidity in just 1 second. But before we do, I want to play you this from the BIS. Remember the mBridge system that the BIS Innovation Hub is working on? Tell me that this isn't what it sounds like when James Wallace said that we are one of the solutions that's being discussed in the mBridge, right? Using a neutral currency to bridge the CBDCs on the system. Listen to this talk right here from the gentleman at the BIS, Mr. Shin.
So what this type of system enables you to do is to avoid the current practice, which is to say, if I want to make a payment to a, on behalf of my client to a supplier, on another continent, what you need to do is to hold a deposit in a bank in that jurisdiction, ideally, and then just call up the bank and say, look, debit my account and credit the account of the supplier. And if you don't have an account, you have to use a correspondent bank. And if you don't even have a correspondent bank with a deposit in that jurisdiction, you need to string along a whole host of different correspondent banks. Now, for that system to work, you need to hold balances at all of these different parts of the chain. And in a way, it's going back to the origins of supply chain financing, where the credit function and the payment function all are bundled together. And so it's incredibly intensive in terms of liquidity, and there are the operational challenges all along the chain. what this kind of platform can do is to just short circuit all of that. And of course, what you would need to do is, of course, convert some of your deposits into tokens. Yeah. So you cannot avoid tying up some of your deposits somewhere, but you can just do it once. And let's say just hold it in London. And then the tokens can circulate everywhere, without having to, lock up liquidity at different points, around the world.
Now, if that doesn't sound like he's describing XRP on-demand liquidity and a liquidity pool and being able to use XRP for your liquidity to eliminate pre-funding accounts, I really don't know what is. I really don't know what is. That's what we're talking about here. Now, let's talk about this. Let's talk about on-demand liquidity here. Anders says here, I believe the current on-demand liquidity volume is underrated since such increase is exponential. We know Ripple had an average of $23 million per day in on-demand liquidity related sales last quarter. Q2 21 to Q2 22, 1 year later, it went from 158 million to 2.1 billion, more than 10 times in a year. You can see it right here. But look at this, because this is a remarkable thought. It might not seem much today, but if there is a 10 times growth in on-demand liquidity related sales each year, it would reach $2.3 trillion of daily sales in 5 years. Well, you know what? Let's go to that little fancy calculator that Susan Athey, board of directors from Ripple, and BlackRock's Robert Mitchnick, Stanford graduate, former Ripple employee, put together. And let's put in just 2 trillion. It defaults at 19, but let's just put in 2 trillion. And let's go down here and do what David said, because David said, you know what? Only the circulating supply, which is 49 billion, 100 million something. I'm just going to put 49 billion for simplicity. And in fact, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to put 49 right there. I'm not going to change another figure in this. So 49 billion is what's available in supply, because David told us yesterday I reported on it, that what is locked up in escrow is not available for payments because it's locked up in escrow. So we're going to go 2 trillion estimated daily transaction volume, and 49 billion in circulation would give us a $639.61 XRP. Now, who in the hell's got a problem with that? Because I don't. And who in the hell would have a problem waiting 5 years for it? Not this guy. Do I want it sooner? You damn right I do. But if it isn't, it isn't. Now let's just make one adjustment here, and let's go to 50 billion, because it's 49 billion, 139 million, 93 million, whatever it is. Let's just round it up a little bit and let's see what we got. It's $126.82. That's what we're talking about. Now, you're asking if I can be a patient man. The answer is damn right I can, because I believe this goal and a much higher goal is extremely possible, because we're only talking about $2 trillion a day. Don't even think about adding in SWIFT $14 trillion a day. I mean, forget about it. $14 trillion a day, SWIFT equals $5 trillion per day. Well, let's go ahead and put that in and see what we get right quick. With the 50 billion in circulation, just under $861 per XRP and 88 cents. And you know what? At that price, I'll let you keep the 88 cents. How about that? Yeah, that's where we are here. And this calculator was created by Susan Athey, board of directors from Ripple, former Ripple employee Robert Mitchnick, now at BlackRock. So you can't tell me that BlackRock doesn't understand the use of XRP, at the very least, as a payment currency, which it is doing very, very well. Look, that's going to do it for me. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe, leave a comment below. Check out all the links underneath the video. Not your keys, not your crypto, ladies and gentlemen. Click that Ledger link and all the rest of them. Great specials and deals, but you got to click the links to get them. I'll catch you on the next one.